Howdy, howdy, and welcome to My Bloody Judy with your final forgets, myself, Zachary Patton Garcia.
And Ian Carlos Crawford. And today, what did we say?
It's our campfire, Ian! We only have one more after this! We can't...
Shit, I'm sorry.
Yes, and I'm Ian Carlos Crawford, and we are your... Oh, goodness. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Howdy, howdy. Welcome to My Bloody Judy. We are your camp counselors. My name is Zachary Patton Garcia. We're leaving all this in, by the way. We're leaving it in. Yeah.
I'm Ian Carlos Crawford, and our camper today is...
Laz Marquez.
Hi, Laz.
Yeah. Laz Marquez, we're really happy to have you here. We're going to be covering 2009's remake of Friday the 13th, the Platinum Dunes edition. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to start wrapping our summer camp series up. This is what we've been doing. But yeah, real quick, Laz, tell us who you are, what you do, where you been.
So like I just said, my name's Laz Marquez. So basically what I do is I'm an illustrator in the entertainment business with a huge kind of sway on or slant on the horror genre specifically. So I've worked with such companies as Scream Factory, New Line Cinema, Sony, and Arrow Video on a bunch of their re-releases of DVDs, their box art, as well as limited edition posters.
Ooh, very good.
And Laz's art is fucking fantastic.
Yes. I have a Final Girls poster back here, and it's really, really good. I'll probably put it on the screen. I'll go ahead and edit it in. But like, what's your favorite piece of work that you've done, or favorite property that you've gotten to be attached to?
Well, it's a little bit of a cop-out answer, but I would say, every project that I work on, there's different things, especially with the horror genres you guys have discussed a lot. There's like subgenres, and there's a wealth of different kinds of horror. So each time it's like exploring a new theme or a new kind of subject matter.
Yeah.
I will say, if I had to choose one, the work that I did specifically for the It remake.
Okay.
Was probably my favorite. I got to do 2 limited edition prints for them for that film, and I love that film to pieces. So being able to do that, and then seeing people, even though I don't live in California, seeing the images kind of projected in the arc light in Los Angeles and stuff like that was just a dream come true. And I think that whole film and its team just like knocked it out of the park.
Nice. I think, especially for any horror fan, it's like a dream just to be attached to any one of these things, right? Like anything to do with any of this. I'd shovel shit on the set of a Halloween movie if I needed to, really. What's one that you would like to? I don't know what's one piece of art that you would like to do that you haven't done so far?
I
feel like I've seen you do most of it.
I've approached most of the franchises that I really love. I think if they did anything like a re-release of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchises, I'd love to kind of reinterpret that or see what something new I could do with it. I'm currently kind of taking on each film poster by poster at the moment when I have time in between projects. Yeah, I would say that one because it's so close to my heart.
Yes, very good. Is that your favorite franchise in horror?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, Ian. Okay.
Oh no, I was gonna say I do think of like Nightmare on Elm Street makes me think of you, Laz, because I know how much you love it.
Really?
Auntie Thompson's my girl. She's in that poster. She's the shit.
Yes. What's your favorite one out of those? I'm like a big New Nightmare fan. I think that might would be my favorite.
I would normally pick that one, but I would say if I went in like cold for somebody who wasn't familiar with the franchise, I would say Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. I think it's like the most accessible. It has some really great character work in it. So like people can relate to, at least one of the characters in it. Because I think the first one people, I've tried to get them into it. They don't understand the aging aspect of like classic horror.
Yeah.
But that one seems to rope people in.
I do. I think that tends to be an issue with horror lots of times. Like you can have like a nostalgia factor, but then it's hard for someone who's never watched it to like Zachary just watched The Faculty recently and he hated it.
Yeah,
but
I'm
like
not a fan of it.
that, right, Laz? But that movie is like
I kind of love that film, but I also haven't seen it as recent as you guys did. I did listen to your episode about it.
we didn't do an episode about it.
We talked a good bit about it though on the
Podcast about it recently.
Okay, yeah.
Because I listened to like so many things, and they hated it, and I sat there and I'm like rethinking, and I think I just have like rose-colored glasses for that film. Also, Famke Janssen's in it, and I love her and everything. So
The cast is like so stacked. It's so good. But like, yeah, I think a lot of horror can have that issue where it's like at the time it was like a big deal. And then like going back, like, you know, I even think about that with Buffy, right? Like you can think that way with Buffy, where like, you know, okay, like a teen girl as a hero isn't as like crazy a notion in 2021 as it was in 97. So like, you know, I remember when we did an episode and we had Isabella Gomez from One Day at a Time, and she had never watched Buffy, even though her character on One Day at a Time loved Buffy. She watched the first 2 episodes, and she kept being like, "These people look really old for teenagers."
Yeah,
and we were like,
see.
"Yeah, they are." Like,
it's funny because I watch it now and I'm like, they looked pretty age appropriate.
I think so.
I think some of them, but then you watch like Netflix movies now or Netflix shows, and they look like right 16-year-olds. You know, they're right there. I don't know.
I feel
Yeah,
like-
I think.
Except for Riverdale, though, where like they've always looked like a hot 25-year-olds.
No, a CW show is going to stick with their 27-year-old actors. You know, they're not switching it up at any time soon. I never start anybody on season 1 of Buffy either. I always make them like, if I'm ever recommending it, I'm always like, season 2, you got to start season 2, watch it through, and then you'll go back or something like that. But because it is really like, it's like with The Faculty. Like I think maybe at the time I would have been into it as everybody, maybe, you know, jumped on the hype train or something like that. But I just, I couldn't get into it this time.
Total tangent, but like, did you like any of the characters?
Oh yeah. There's elements in any horror that I always like, even Friday the 13th, which I pretty much loathe this series. So I don't know why we're covering it, but we're I feel like it's one of the fundamentals of horror, right? So we should do it. I liked the characters with it. I mean, anything Josh Hartnett is in, you know, you gotta keep your eye on him for a little bit. Jordana Brewster, I'm a big fan of her, so she was good in it, and yeah. We should have been covering The Faculty. Is that a campy movie? Is that summer camp?
It's a good movie.
It's a summer school.
So anyway, do we want to get started on the movie we're here to talk about? So
yes.
I wanted to know what you boys thought of. So I've seen this, but I think I watched it like a Sunday when me and my roommate Kevin were like hungover on the couch. I think that was so I didn't fucking remember that it has like an opening and then an opening, and then we get to the, like, I didn't remember.
Mhm.
I thought the only time we addressed the mom was like someone talking about it as a rumor, which we do get, but I didn't remember that was like a black and white like flashback.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't know, and I know this will mean nothing to you, Zach, but I know so. Laz, did you know who plays Pamela Voorhees in that flashback?
I do. It was
Kira Nerys from Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Nana Visitor from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, doing what I wrote down in my notes as like her most questionable Pamela Voorhees cosplay.
It's very weird. I would have never recognized her if I didn't look it up. Like I didn't know.
Yeah, it was just like so hammy in the voice. Like it just felt again like she was like doing the most cartoony version of it.
Yeah.
But it was
Now I'm thinking, was it hammy? I quite liked the opening. I'm like, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I thought it was a good like little repeat of that original movie without us having to like sit through an original movie, right?
She's a good actress too. Like I've seen her like perform the hell out of like, you know, things on Star Trek, but I don't know, like the voice just, I don't know, it just felt like a weird imitation. Like it took me out of it a little bit.
So would y'all have rather just taken Pamela Voorhees out of this one and just like taken that opening out and I don't know, just Jason in the woods?
No,
you
I do
need a
think
Pamela Voorhees?
I do think we kind of need it. I don't know. I'm still like Zach and I talked about this a little bit before recording, but like I didn't love the flashback and then the other movie and then the other, like I don't think any of it didn't work. It just felt like we were doing too much of like, okay, now these people are dead. Okay, now these people are dead. Okay, here's a new, like I didn't, it was like, all right, just like I felt like if we could have somehow mushed together the kids, then that, because I did like, I thought that group was a little better. That like first group of like cannon fodder teens or not teens, I don't know how old they're supposed to be, but like if we could have somehow mushed that together, I would have liked it better because it felt so quick. I was like, wait, what the fuck is this movie? Like now all these people are dead. And I don't know. It was like something needed to like, I don't know, Laz. What do you think?
To me, and I also had this in my notes. It was like narrative overload. It was just like too many threads, too many people to focus on. I agree with you 100% that first group was far better. And like that whole sequence, or like what I called in my notes the prologue, was like far better than the rest of the film, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I could connect with them. The actors and the characters also seemed like really committed in that segment. Whereas like we'll get to it, but like some of the other stuff, I just couldn't, like I couldn't latch on to anybody.
Yeah,
Well,
that first group, go for it.
I was just gonna say, and like the thing about the first group was they actually felt like friends, which is a better dynamic for like, oh fuck, these friends, like like when the girl sees the other guy who's like her friend's boyfriend, but she still wants to save him. But that other group, it's like they all fucking hated each other, except for like the black dude and the Asian dude who die very quickly. They seem like the only ones that like were actually friends. And I like the dynamic. I know they were definitely going for horror tropes, right? Like I think they were going for like all of the Friday the 13th tropes. But I just like, because I know that's a thing, right? There's like the asshole and like blah blah blah. But I don't know. For me, it's more engaging if it's like a group of friends, because then you wouldn't want your friend to, right? Like if it's your friends, you do want to help them, and you don't want, to see your fucking friend's girlfriend burning in a sleeping bag. But like if it's a bunch of people you hate, then I'm like, all right, leave them. Like I don't know.
Yeah, no, and I think that is that's exactly what I was gonna say. Is that this first group did feel a lot more close knit, and that's the thing with like characters in a horror movie. Even if they're going with tropes, you can't just have faceless characters, right? Because then we're sitting through a movie, we don't care who's dying or anything like that. It better be like a really good fucking death, or else like we're sitting there bored. And this group, they were playing with tropes. They had the nerd, they had the guy, they were out looking for the weed. They were having the sex, and they were, exploring the spooky camp. But like, we got just enough from each of them that it worked. And they felt like they were there, on this trip together, which is like, the second group, they didn't even hang out together. They immediately split up pretty quick. We had like nearly everybody was blonde in that second group. I don't know who was who. It just didn't work. I also thought Whitney was really good. I'm glad we got to keep her around, but like, I don't know. I think this first, like, how long even was it? Like 15 minutes, right? It wasn't very long, but like it was a whole Friday the 13th movie in and of itself. Like this is all we really needed. Yeah.
Laz, how well do you know the original like franchise? Because I know I've seen them, but I'm like not.
Actually, just recently rewatched almost all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, Camp Crystal Lake Memories documentary.
Yeah, that's a long one.
Yeah, it is. I can't sleep without watching things, and then I end up not sleeping anyway because I end up actually watching these things. So like I'm pretty well versed. I'm not gonna lie, I do not like this franchise, like at all. So there are things about this film that I think that they do really, really, really right. But with this group, just jumping off of what you said, Zach, what I thought was interesting, because I don't like the tropes in horror of like, ooh, sex, like let's be like explicit about it. It just doesn't really work for me. Like I'm a gay dude who likes, the female characters and feminism, so it just doesn't really do much for me. I will say though, and I'd be curious how you guys feel about this, but Richie was freaking
I
hot.
was hot and bothered by those two, both of them. They were like, they
I
had
wanted him and the nerd
chemistry.
to hook up.
No, 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 no. Him and his girlfriend had chemistry off the charts in this. Like when she was like, teasing him behind his friend's back, like, oh, that did it for me. It did something. Does he not look like Scott Baio? Did anybody think that? Because I could not, like, I didn't know what his name was. And I was like, Scott Baio wasn't young enough for this. That's not him. But then I looked
I
him
thought he-
up. Side by
I thought he
side,
was-
they look like the exact same fuck person.
I thought he was Andrew Keegan. I was like, oh, I didn't remember Andrew Keegan was in this. He looks good. And then I looked him up. I was like, oh, nope, not him.
I'm looking
Wow,
at Patrick Egan.
Like a zillion years. 19.
I don't know. The boobs just like I'm with Laz. It's just like we saw so many boobs and like
Yeah.
not even a butt. Like, come on, give me something like
No, I didn't
that
get much.
immediately, especially in horror, because it's like, oh, they're showing their boobs and that's telling us that they're going to die. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I just get very like meh about it.
What I was trying to get at was like because they were so committed, I think in their like very small roles, it kind of worked for me because like I don't know, Zach, you mentioned it, like chemistry, like they actually had some. So like it didn't take me out of the movie or like make me roll my eyes. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, whatever. So yeah.
I mean, and you think of like that sex scene versus like the sex scene that we see later between Trent and Bree, where it's just so weird and so awkward. And then his girlfriend's like outside knocking on the door. There's a guy out there, you guys. Come on.
That
Come
made me
on.
think. I was like, did I misread them? Are they not boyfriend
It
and
was
girlfriend?
fucking weird, wasn't it? I think it was just like a weird, and nobody cared. Nobody cared what they were doing. But no, all in all, the first group just worked better. So we've got the first group. We've got Whitney, her boyfriend, who go off exploring Camp Crystal Lake. We've got Scott Baio and his girlfriend having sex at their tent, and then the nerd goes off to find the weed, and everybody meets their end pretty quickly. The fucking sleeping bag though was like really brutal. Like you even I forgot that we see her like close up in the sleeping bag as she's like just burning alive. It's just he's brutal in this one. He's like super brutal.
Falls out and like the smoke is coming from her mouth.
Yeah.
But Laz, is that a? I felt like that's a reference. Like that's how he kills someone in one of the other movies, right? Or no?
Like pretty much, I would say 80% of the kills in this movie are like references,
Okay.
not exactly done, but references to other kills in the films.
Yeah.
I don't remember which film this one was from, but yeah, it
Okay.
was.
And so that was the other thing I was going to ask you was like, so we knew the black and white was like clearly like that's the first movie in like 5 seconds. Was this group that we watched get killed? Was that like supposed to be the second movie, or like was that?
No, although it takes threads. Basically, the entire film takes inspiration from primarily the second, third, and I believe fourth films in the franchise, and just kind of like mashes them up.
Okay.
Never like the same characters or same names or anything, but like some of the kills, some of the personalities are kind of similar.
Yeah, I can see that because folks going to see this movie, they wanted to go see a Jason movie, right? They're not going to sit through a whole nother movie with Pamela Voorhees, and like I think nowadays people probably would, but back then, like we were wanting to see Jason put on the hockey mask, so they had to run through those first few movies like pretty quickly. But so everybody here meets their end, and then we move on to our second group, which I do like Jared Padalecki, and I like Daniel Panabaker from my Disney Channel days. I do like Daniel Panabaker quite a bit. And he, what's his name? His name is, Clay. Okay, it's Clay.
Which guy's Clay?
Jared. That's his name, right?
Because you already
It's
said you
Clay in
liked
this.
this, so I thought you were
Yes.
going to like a different
No,
person.
I'm gonna say Clay. He's out looking for his sister, so he's just riding around on a motorcycle looking for his sister Whitney. And then we have our group who are just out, going to a lake house. For I don't know, the main guy Trent. He's I guess the rich white boy that everybody's following to this lake house. I don't know how he has any of these friends. I think we've already talked about that. Like they had no chemistry. They didn't even like each other, but they're all going out to this lake house, not to even party together.
I will give them that all of the men in this movie are pretty attractive. Like almost all of them could have it. Trent and Jared Padalecki's though flippy hair really killed me. I mean, that was a style then, but like the way they both have the exact same like bowl that flips at the edge, I was like, ooh, that is killing me.
I'll say Jared Padalecki though is like he's just like so beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
Like screen, I'm just like, you're so ethereal and like so perfect, like everything about you, that it like becomes distracting. And also like I'm not certain we needed him in this movie, but he was there.
I will agree with that.
He was popular at the time. He was a big one, so they had to have him in this. But what really frustrated me is he's going around to all these different places asking about this thing, and nobody's giving him a fucking answer. Like the old lady, that stupid ass old hillbilly lady, just say. He just wants to be left alone. She ain't missing. She's dead. We'll just give him a couple more sentences, just like little bit more. Save us about a half an hour of this movie, but like nobody gives any answers here.
Well, I have a question for you guys. I did not look this up, but is that the woman who plays the mother in the Texas Chainsaw?
I don't think so. I thought so. I think I looked it up, and it's not the same woman now.
I did think she felt very Texas Chainsaw Massacre-y.
Yeah.
Because this is the same director as that.
Is it the same director? I didn't know if it was the same director, but I knew that it was the same cinematographer too. Yeah, so there's a lot of the same people working on this one, and it's Platinum Dunes, so like they were really churning out these like remakes of these properties at this time. This was actually what's weird is like this is the last Friday the 13th movie that we've gotten since 2009. Like it's been over 10 years since we've had a Friday the 13th movie, because that like they're like tied up in court, right? The rights are just being fought over like crazy, yeah. Because I think the guy who wrote it. Is saying that it's his property and he had like a 5-year window to like, I don't know, after the 35th anniversary to like file something that would revert rights to himself. But then the director of the first one is saying, no, your work for hire. So it really belongs to my production company. And it's a big mess, but like, yeah, it's been over 10 years since one.
See, and I'm going to do the thing I always do, Zach, where I feel like, because we were trying so hard to like race to Jason in a hockey mask, why don't we just fucking make it another one of the movies? Like I always feel like it's lazy writing to just be like, no, reboot, when it's like you can just what's the fuck, the story's already there and we got it in a flashback at the first 5 seconds, so we just could have cut that out and made it like this is a continuation of the Friday the 13th series, rather than like having to race through all of like, okay, he's wearing the potato sack, okay, now he's putting on the hockey mask. Like it just feels like we could have cut out a lot of things if we just were like, yep, you know who Jason is. We don't need to tell you, you know?
Yeah, I think so.
It feels like a Friday the 13th greatest hits in a lot of ways.
Yes, it does.
In the beats, and it's treating itself like a pseudo sequel, but a reboot, but it doesn't know which one it wants at any given time. So it's just bizarre.
I will say I do like Jason a lot more in this one. Like, I'm not a big fan of the franchise anyway, but I do like that they treated him a little bit more serious in this one than like, anytime in the original franchise they take his mask off, he had like this goofy look on his face. And it's not because he was deformed, but he was like, making like stupid sounds and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And this one, he was just this like pissed off guy who's like living alone all the time and just wants to, go around and do his own business. And like, I understand that the hockey mask is like super iconic, I'm all for it, but Baghead Jason like is infinitely more terrifying. And I kind of wish they would have just kept him in the bag this entire movie. I don't know.
I also would agree with that. I do like the Baghead feels scarier. I just the hockey mask. I mean, that's what they put on fucking shirts, right? Yeah. Like, so they got because I actually, when I was rewatching this today, I was like, wait a minute, does he not put the hockey mask on? And then I was like, wait, no, that's in the poster. He's wearing the fucking hockey mask.
Yeah, and in like the script meetings and stuff like that, before they even came up with the story, they're thinking of what scene is going to be the scene that he puts the hockey mask on, right? So it's like, did we really need that? They could have even started him with it. Like he's been living out there for however long. Like he would have found it fucking somewhere. He's got a bunch of trash like sitting in his tunnels anyway.
Lots of trash. Loves trash.
He's a hoarder.
Not unlike me and you, Zach.
Fun fact, and again, this is where it like blurs the line between being like a reboot and a sequel and all this stuff. Like there's items that he has in like those weird tunnels and in his house, like a wheelchair. Like I believe in a Friday the 13th Part 2, there's a character he kills who's in a wheelchair. So you see a wheelchair in the background, you see all the whistles like in his house. So it like harks back and like hints at like
Yeah.
some of the deaths that were done after 1980,
Right.
but it doesn't really commit. So it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that weird place where it's could be a sequel, but also fan service, and it's just yeah, I'd agree.
But okay, so they encounter Jared Padalecki. They move on to, you know, Trent's an asshole to him.
Yeah.
What's her face? Who I can't even remember what her name was. I kept typing her as other main girl. Is kind of like, oh, I'm sorry, my boyfriend's a dick.
Yeah.
They make it to the house. We first find out there's no signal. They don't have Wi-Fi. That's like important to add into every, you know, horror scenario. And then we kind of have like a weird. It's like we get like, and we talked about this a little bit. Like we get them just like around the house, and for me, that stuff is just like.
Every scene at the lake house is so boring, and it just drags. Even when they're like at the lake house and Jason's like attacking everybody, right? It's just so boring. And you know what? The big problem with this movie is they keep repeating shit. Like they keep repeating. They go back to the lake house, or like when Clay and Jenna are like exploring Camp Crystal Lake, you'd expect something to happen there, right? But then they go back to the lake house, and then they go back to exactly where they were later to rescue Whitney, and it's just like this weird back and forth where it's like, oh, we have 3 sets. Let's let's shuffle around a little bit.
Also, it bugs me when there's no purpose for our characters to be stuck in a location. So like they hate each other. Like none of them get along. I don't know why they decided to take Trent up on his offer to spend like a weekend at his, you know, boathouse or whatever. Like you're not even getting along. You're not enjoying each other. Like I don't think they knew each other. Because like
it doesn't seem like it, does it? No. Like the background is like weird. I'd be interested in knowing the background, because it feels like he's not even technically like this popular guy. He's just a rich guy who like doesn't want anybody playing beer pong on the table, or
no driving his boat.
No driving his boat. Like he's not even cool. He's not even like, you know, a friendly host or anything. Just picked him up at the gas station.
Like his girlfriend doesn't seem like she knows him.
She doesn't even care when he's cheating. She's just like, yeah, you're cheating. Great, come on, let's go. So, Laz, I forget. You are also a Veronica Mars fan, right? Or no?
Yes. Yeah.
I could not believe that Ryan Hansen, I forgot in my brain, I knew how he died, but I thought it happened later. Can't believe that they like have Ryan Hansen, who's like very good as like a hot douchebag, and he gets killed like in the most boring.
Oh yeah. Like
is that he's the one on the boat?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they're all splitting up, right? It's like, for some
very
fucking reason,
quickly.
Clay shows up at this house, and Jenna invites him in. Also, not very cool. I understand the like blonde guy's supposed to be an asshole, but this is his fucking house, and she's like, "Come in and eat. I'm gonna feed you. Do you want a drink?" Like, she's really there. She's a pick me. But then she takes off with him on the back of his motorcycle. I would also be
if it was Jared Padalecki, though.
Well, he's got a motorcycle and one's got a lake house. But she takes off with him. We've got the other, like, these, it's 4. Yeah, we've got 4 sticking at the house, and then we've got the one blonde and another blonde out on the boat. I really liked this death scene.
Before that, we also had that weird scene between Trent and Jenna where they, like, kind of are nice to each other, like on the patio.
Yeah.
Confusing, because I was like, oh, is Trent like a nice guy, just like really uptight, or is he really like a jerk? Does he really like her? So again, like, so inconsistent. Sorry, I know you.
No. I mean, I agree. It's I don't fucking know. I have no answers though. I don't think the filmmakers had answers either.
Wait, so Zach, you like that? You like the boat kill?
I do like the boat kill a lot. I don't like I like her portion of it. I don't really care about him getting shot with an arrow, right? But it's creepy when he gets shot with an arrow and then a runaway boat, like, you know, hits her. And like, what's scary about that is if you're sitting in the middle of the lake all alone and you see somebody over on the shore with a machete, you're not going to swim over to the shore. So then you're just like kind of kicking in the water.
But then she does.
But you can get, I don't know. It's either stay out there and get tired and drown, or like try to go somewhere. And that was I think that was like what they did pretty well with this, is like they gave us a dilemma, right? Because she didn't have a bunch of options here, and then we get the, I guess Michael Bay wanted to give us a tit shot because he stabs that machete down, hits her in the head, pulls her up, and it's like fully a whole nother shot that they pull back on, and it's just tits just sitting there.
See, again, I hated that. I was like,
Do you want to hear the weirdest fun fact that I found out doing my research for this? Michael Bay walked out of the screening for this movie because he said that there was too much explicit nudity and sex.
Really? This is the guy who made a 15-year-old Megan Fox take a shower on camera.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, it makes sense.
that's
I read that. I was like, okay, you're nuts.
I don't know. It's like, did he not oversee the movie? Like,
apparently not.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I liked the idea of the scene, but it just like he just gets an arrow through the head real quickly.
Mhm.
I think as Laz can attest to, right? Ryan Hansen's very good at. I mean, he's doing the same character he did in Veronica Mars, but he's very good at it. And I felt like he's a character that would have been fun to keep around, like kill him a little bit later on. Because he's like, so basically, Zach, the character he played, for 10 minutes in this movie is who he is in Veronica Mars. That's
Okay.
the character. He's like a lovable douchebag,
Mhm.
and like hot.
Yeah.
But so I feel like that's a character we kind of like. That's the character I wish Trent had been, like a lovable like douchebag, not like a mean douche. Like, I don't know. I felt like we needed that friend group. Like I said, that just felt like, and like Ryan Hansen is a little bit more dynamic. So I was bummed that he dies. Like, but I felt a lot of the deaths were kind of like that, where it's just like, oop, a real quick stab and.
Well, that's exactly what we said earlier. Is like, if you have all these faceless characters, we don't really care when they're dying, and we don't really care to sit through it either. Because while I did like that dilemma they kind of gave us in that death scene for her, whatever her name is, blonde girl number 2, it's Willa Ford. I know her real name.
I couldn't figure out which one was Willa Ford when I looked at the credits. I was like,
That's
wait, that's a
fucking one
pop
of
star.
them.
Which one is
That's
she?
fucking one of them. I don't fucking know, but it's they just didn't play it out right. Give us suspense. Give us like drag it out for us. Build something up. And when everybody like breaks off, their little side scenes are a lot better. And then everybody who stays at the damn lake house, it just nothing ever happens for any of them. They don't get any, like, even these two blondes who go out to the boat, like when they're driving out there and they're like kind of bumping along the road, like that was. I'd like to see the rest of like where they were headed to, and like I don't know, something like Jason stalking them through the woods or something. Like that would have been nice.
Because that scene, I mean, Laz, you said it too. Like I do like when she like she gets hit and then she looks and sees this like crazed giant man who just like arrowed her boyfriend in the head. That builds tension, but then very quickly she swims to the dock where he is, and it's like, why would you go the other way where he's not? Like, I don't know why, if you know he's there, why wouldn't you go underwater and swim away, right? That would be my instinct.
So I'm a weirdo with research. So if you guys ever need like just a research buddy, let me know. So apparently the way it was scripted, which I think I would have liked better, was that she was gonna stay in the lake, not go to the dock, and because she got a pretty serious injury. By a boat in the head.
Right.
So he was gonna be on land and basically wait out until she drowned, and that's how she dies.
See, that's fucking creepy, and like that is like something that you could just supernatural super being aside, like that could happen to anybody, right?
Right.
So
I actually think that would have been cooler. I mean,
it would have been so much better.
I just feel like I would have, I mean, I am not a swimmer, so I probably would have drowned and died, but I would have tried to swim to the other spot where he's like the other side.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Like it is, maybe she was closer to the dock. It's swimming that distance is very hard. It takes a lot out of you.
But and like the way it's just like boop right in her head feels very silly. Like it's just like Merp, and then she's
that
like
was
in
it was
the
just
water.
dumb, right? Like they could have.
They just wanted to show her
given us
boobs.
that suspense. That's exactly what it was. Is like we had a boob quota to meet in this movie, and we had to see all of them.
Really.
Yeah.
So moving on, we get So is it after this that Jason gets the hockey mask when he kills that random fucking hillbilly dude?
What is ass whooping machine? That's my name for him in these notes. That's what I got here. Because they go to ass whooping machine's house a couple times in this movie. Yes,
All right.
I don't know if that's when it happens, but it's just this script just felt like they wrote themselves into a corner with so many characters and had to keep like going and punching back everywhere, right? And so I don't even know if that's what happens next, but he does do it. Yes.
Right. So that this random like hillbilly
Yes.
dude wants to fuck the mannequin in Jason's cabin. Encounters Jason, what is he? He just like machetes him across the throat, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy pulls off his bag mask, potato sack, and we see Jason's face. And like you said, Zach, I appreciate that it wasn't played for like blah, like the way they normally do it, where he's like, it's just like, yes, he's deformed, but then he picks up a hockey mask and puts on the hockey mask. Actually, that happens before, because isn't he wearing the hockey mask when he kills her at the dock?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we also touch upon, like, why is weed such a big part of this storyline? Have you noticed that? Like in the
Right?
about like
Because that's what the crazy kids do. They do the weed.
Territorial about his like weed stash. Like
That's it, right? I was thinking that too, Laz, because like it looks like he's like, I mean, I know that's not what we're getting at, but it looks like he's mad that the nerd dude found his stash.
Yeah.
He's like,
yeah, and then that guy, hillbilly guy, he also found the stash of weed and was trying to pawn it on Clay. So like, did he kill him because of weed as well? Like
Jason, he's in Dare. He's in Dare.
He just wants to be he wants to be left alone, so he can smoke a bunch of weed, which like
Yes.
same. So like
he's had it.
And they kind of like break their own stuff here, right? Like Jason is supposed to be kept at Crystal Lake. I guess he goes out into town sometimes in the original franchise, but
Jason takes Manhattan.
yeah, it's like, oh my god, I forgot all about that. How Crystal Lake leads to Manhattan, I have no fucking idea. But okay,
He goes to space. He's been a lot of places.
which was a good. I enjoyed that one. I was okay.
That one's
with
fucking
one.
awful.
It is like a sci-fi train wreck that I only ever saw on sci-fi, so I enjoyed it.
I saw that one when I was working at the movie theater when that and Freddy vs. Jason came out. Because I remember I saw both of them when I worked at the theater.
Yeah. Laz, do you like Freddy vs. Jason?
No.
Oh goodness! Oh, Ian, this is a monumental moment, Ian. I am the only person who has the differing opinion here.
Laz, normally it's the opposite, where like I am like you, and I'm like, no, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. And then the guest and Zach are jerking each other off and like making fun of me for being a brat. So I'm very happy to have you.
The problem is I have like a very specific checklist of things that you need to do right for me to like really be engaged. And acting is one of them. And the acting in that movie and Freddy vs. Jason is so bad. So bad. Like arguably the acting in this film is like Oscar worthy compared to Freddy vs. Jason.
I would agree.
Like what's her name? Lori in Freddy vs. Jason is the worst fucking girl in the universe.
She really is. They hired her for the pout. Pout and the big boobs is what they hired her for.
I feel like when Kelly Rowland is your best actor, there's a problem.
Do not hate on Kelly Rowland. We will not have any Destiny's Child slander. We are moving on. Clay and Jenna go to the Crystal Lake. They're exploring the Crystal Lake. Jason shows up with all the bodies, and so Clay and Jenna have to run. They run.
I have a question for everyone.
Okay.
So like she says, there's a line later where she says that he had, I think she says 8 bodies. So was he like carrying? What were the bodies he was carrying? Were they supposed to be? I have no fucking
idea because they find the people from the lake later.
Right.
So I don't know who the fuck these people are.
Okay, that was my question. I wasn't sure who he was carrying. I was like, are these like old campers that are like older bodies that he's just like moving around?
I don't know.
He's not the cleanest. He might just leave bodies some places sometimes, Ian. He just,
or maybe he's like me with my action figures. Sometimes he just wants to rearrange his dead bodies.
Gosh,
he's like, yeah, I'll put them here.
Are your action figures? You're thinking of them as dead bodies? There's a problem. There's a problem. I've seen you dismember them.
only to make new
Oh
ones.
my gosh, it's traumatizing. We've got them. So Clay and Jenna take off, and they take off back to the cabin. We're just racing through this one. They take off back to the lake house to warn everybody. And in the lake house, I guess Trent and Bree decided they're gonna hook up, so they're fucking and Jenna is banging on the door saying, "Hey, there's a guy out there." Like, we've got Chewie. He goes out to the tool shed. He meets his end out there. I did like Lawrence the going after Chewie, right? Being the only person who like cared about a friend. He's like, I'm gonna go for my friend.
Yes, I also think that that's the most, for me, the like death I remembered the most from this movie, because I think, well, it's, you know, it's not like a crazy big death, but it's like, I think a well done, because like he's like, no, 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 like, and it's slowly going into him.
Yeah.
So that's the death I remember the most. Also, I think Aaron Yu is like very handsome. And I had a crush on him from when he was in Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. So I remember watching this.
That's
like,
what he was in, wasn't he?
yeah,
Oh.
and like wanting him to live, because I really liked him in Nick and Nora and thought he was a babe.
Okay.
But I like that it was like a little bit more human, where it's like, oh yeah, he's a lot smaller than Jason, but he does try to put up a fight. And I like that he's a little jokey when he's like, oh, do you want this hockey stick? It goes with your outfit. And he's like being jokey because he's fucking terrified. Which I relate to, because I feel like that would be me as I'm getting stabbed. I'm like trying to pretend to joke, and then I'm actually like shitting my pants. Yeah, I don't know. Laz, what do you think of this death?
Yeah, I think it worked for all the same reasons you did. And it was arguably one of the more memorable of group two.
Right? Yeah.
I guess. And Lawrence did put up, when he went out after Chewie, he did put up a really good fight against Jason, right? He had his moves. He had moves against him. And then he gets what? He got, was it an axe or an arrow? Which one was thrown at him? Axe. Okay. And then he's just laying out there yelling, and it almost like verges on comedy, and it's just so weird, and everybody's listening to him, but nobody will go out and get him, because everybody met him 5 hours ago, and nobody knows him.
Well, his adrenaline was going after he tried to masturbate to J. Crew's Sweater Girl.
To a winter catalog. Because everybody's got to have some sort of sexual something in here, right? I guess.
He also was high, if we recall. He's the one that was smoking the thong. So that's me when I go after to save you, Zach, after you've already been murdered. I'm like, I got this, and then I get killed quickly.
If that's you, so what seasonal catalog are you masturbating to, Ian?
Abercrombie and Fitch. Duh.
Oh my god, this is ridiculous. Yeah, I did like that. You know what? I want to give Jenna a little credit here. She took off her flip-flops and put on some sensible shoes. She did do that. She put on some boots.
Which one is Jenna again?
Danielle Pennebaker.
Okay, she's like the main girl.
Yeah, she's
okay.
Is she supposed to be the main girl? Like, I didn't know. I didn't get it.
So Jason has killed the other guy. Then who does he? I forget.
It's the girl. It's the other blonde girl number one in the bathroom, I think, right? Because he comes up behind her and like, I appreciate that they didn't make Jason, because I feel like it was a time where they really could have made Jason this hillbilly backwoods perv who like would feel up his victim before killing her, and I'm glad they didn't do that, because I couldn't remember if he had done that or not. Because
you're right, they really did love that back then. Like,
for a second, it was like I was wondering, but then no, he just kills her. He's just like tired of all these people at his lake.
Even her death was kind of, he puts her on those antlers, and in my brain I was like, that looks like she could survive that, because they were like smaller.
I don't know, you read Final Girl Support Group, she survived that one, so same antlers.
That's true, we all have read Final Girl Support Group.
Did you read it, Laz? Did you like it?
I really
yeah. So yeah,
we'll discuss it after recording.
We'll discuss it after. No spoilers. But yes, so she's next, and then
I did think that was a good visual of like the curtain and like her with him behind her. That was like a good. It just, the death was kind of like, oh, okay, but it was a good
one of
visual.
those good things about this movie is that they can come up with really good visuals throughout this entire thing. Like they
have the budget.
They had the budget, and they had the cinematography. They had like all of the right pieces, right? Just not the right story. And then it's just Clay, Jenna, and Trent. And Trent gets, I guess there's a cop at some point that comes in. What the fuck? It's just like just another character they decided to like shovel in here.
The cop comes in and dies quickly, right?
Immediately.
I will say Trent's death, I was a little bit like, what just happened? Because like he has the gun, but he loses the gun, and he finds the like. I think I was also thinking kind of like the same thing what you guys were thinking. I was like, wait, is this like because like that hillbilly older dude stops, and I was like, oh, he's in on it, right? Like he's like, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, these like mean hillbillies are like in with Jason because like the lady just shuts the door when the other guy's asking, but he's not. And then Trent gets impaled on something in the truck.
Yeah.
It's like because it's a tow truck, right? So it's like he just gets impaled on the back of it.
Oh, is it like the toe
towing
like
rig? Yeah,
okay, because I was like, what the fuck did he just get like shoved on?
mechanical stuff. Ian, mechanicals.
I did appreciate the old man was just like, oh, gotta fucking get out of here.
Like, he's like, oh, okay, this is like
like,
another. It's another night with Jason. I live in this
Yeah.
town. I know what happens.
He's just like, oh, let me let my wife know that I'm
I
coming home with
know.
another dead body attached to my truck.
You know, and it should have been because we had Clay and Jenna exploring this Crystal Lake, and then they come back to the lake house, and then like Whitney escaped too. Like she escaped. She got it, picked the lock, got out, and she ran. And then we should have had all our characters meeting up here, right? But then Whitney is like right back exactly where she was. And then Clay and Jenna are exactly where they were exploring Camp Crystal Lake. And it's like, what the fuck was all this like this 30 minutes then? Like what was all this? They're everybody's just right back. Okay, so they go and they rescue Whitney. They're all running through the tunnels, and I did think it was not shocking, but it's a little surprised that Daniel Panabaker died. Right? He comes up behind her and he like gets her.
I told Zach
Did
this
you know?
last. I was like in a rush today, so I was like,
Yeah.
I had it on my TV while I was like doing other things, like setting up my lights, getting dressed. I somehow was like, wait, where'd that girl go? Oh, I guess I missed that she died.
She
Like
died.
I missed her dad.
She died. That's Jason is chasing her and she dies. And then they
Does he like stab her? Does he like rip her in
through,
half? Like what's he
through,
do?
like the stomach with a machete. And then the other two set his whole tunnel on fire. Like, fuck these people. This is his house. This is where he lives. He's not bothering nobody.
He's bothering plenty of people. What are you talking about?
Who is he bothering? Or are they bothering him, Ian? Is somebody coming to your house and coming to your tunnels and set it on fire? Are you going to be mad?
Well, if I've like shot their friends through the head with an arrow and machete and axe, then like maybe I deserve it.
Okay, well, that's his lake property.
Two things about that. So, Danielle Panabaker, like, I wish I cared about her. I wish she
I
had like
didn't care, yeah.
of like I don't know, like strength or like interest or like anything if she's supposed to be like a psych out final girl. So at that point, I was just kind of like, you're kind of like a weird love interest for Clay, but you've known each other for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't really care. But also, Camp Crystal Lake is like really stupidly used in this movie because it comes across as just like a house in tunnels, but it's supposed to be like a summer camp.
Yeah.
Like they don't use the summer camp at all.
Which would have been really cool seeing them like running around hiding using different parts of the summer camp, right? Like and like I said, like all the visuals are done. The sets are really well done. Like they could have done a lot here. Take out the fucking lake house, you know? That original cast, they're in the woods already camping. They come across Camp Crystal Lake and then like the whole movie. There's your whole movie right there. I did like the brother sister. By the time we got down to just them, I didn't mind them. I liked them fighting back a lot better than everybody else.
Yeah.
But I think by that point you're just like kind of ready to check out, aren't you? Like,
Whitney feels like she's in like a completely different movie.
Yes.
So like her acting as well as like her character and like she imbues some sort of strength, but at this point I'm like, I don't know you, and like you have character, so, like what, like why are you here?
yeah.
Like now you're my final girl, but like you should have been kind of like in the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
but then they gave us that moment, right? It's like where she picks the lock and gets free. There's her journey from that point. But then they put her right back on that little bed with them chains. Like it doesn't like, and she was good. She was like styled really nice. I liked her final girl shirt. Like I'm a somebody for visuals. I like the outfit, the hair, everything.
They show like, was Jason feeding her? Or like cutting her nails, or like
And
something.
where was she using the restroom? I was thinking of all of this, Les, everything, all the
I
details.
always think of the bathroom when they're in like kind of scenarios. Just like She just
Are
like
they
shit in her
pissing
pants.
themselves?
Yeah, like,
If it's raining and your pants are already wet, you might as well just like real quick, just go.
Like I think they said it's been like a month and a half.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you gotta like water, sustenance, like
Mhm.
something.
Well, he
Yeah.
did bring her stuff, right? Like we do, like he. So I guess one would assume he had brought her food as well.
Is it
But
food or people? Which one is he
right.
bringing her?
Well, I mean, potato at that point.
I don't know, but she's supposed to like look like his mother, right? That's why he's
Mhm.
keeping her alive, as that's his mother in essence. And they
Has
have
that ever happened in one of the movies, Laz? Was that ever a
That was the
plot?
second movie, right?
Yeah, with a character called Ginny, but like not the same thing. She's like a psych student, and she basically like flips it on him. So she puts on like the sweater and
Mm.
pretends to be his mother. But I will say, and I have this in my notes stated just like this: the locket, fucking stupid. Like I don't understand this locket. Like why? Like why is this locket a thing? Why do they kind of look like each other? Like I get what they're trying to do, but it just felt like such a cop out.
Yeah.
Yes.
It
Yes.
just could have been done, but he already has the head, so I don't know why he has the locket too. Like he's got a memento. Um, but they like escape the tunnels and end up in this school bus, and we have this like 5 minute school bus fight, which the school bus was really cool too. Like if they had like put that scene in there somewhere, like earlier or something like that, where they were hiding in the school bus or something, like that would have been cool. But
The
by
school
this
bus scene
point,
is when I realized that the other girl was missing. I was like, wait, where's the other girl?
way.
That's what I was like. Is that her? Did the sister die? Oh, I guess the other girl died.
Yeah, and so they get out and they go back to like ass whooping guy's house, and they somehow she looks like the mother, so this is her her big weapon, I guess, is she's supposed to be able to like talk to him, and she just says his name, Jason. And then they're able to like subdue him just for a second while they get a chain around his neck, throw him into like a grinder, grinds up like the top of his head, and then she like stabs him with a machete, and then he's supposed to be done. Yeah, but just done just enough to keep him alive. Because then at the end, they're on the dock having their little moment. I don't know why they didn't just like go somewhere.
I also like I mean, every horror movie does this, so I can't be like blaming this movie, but grind up his whole fucking head is how I feel. Like,
Yeah.
don't just like, oh, it braised it, we're good. Like, I like, no, mush that thing till it's like powder and be like, okay, now he's definitely dead.
God,
Now
I
we
can
can go.
imagine you do like adrenaline going, you're manic, you're like,
Yeah. I'm like, no, Zach, we're not leaving it half mushed. We're
I'm
mushing it all
like,
the
yeah,
way.
it's fine, Ian. It's okay. We'll be
Yeah, and then when he
good.
jumps
We'll
out
be
of the lake and kills
good.
us.
We'll be good. Because he does do that. Very end, he jumps out of the lake and grabs Whitney and pulls her down.
So I know that that's like from the first one, but in the first one, it's she's dreaming in the hospital, right?
Yes, right. And that happens in like a lot of them though. Also, like they tried to repeat that a good bit.
Yeah.
Which one was the one where? Because I always thought this one was really creepy. Where she's in a canoe. Obviously like a man-made lake for that movie.
Isn't this the first one?
She's in like a no. She's on like a canoe. There's a lot of them. So she's in a canoe, and then she sees him like in the window at the house or something like that, and then he like runs down at her. I thought that was really creepy because it's like
Oh, that one I don't remember.
I think that's 3 maybe. That might be 3.
You guys know that I don't know if I said this before on the podcast, Zach. The whatever they use for Camp Crystal Lake is like near me in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So all the like kids, like all the Boy Scouts would go that like they went to that camp. That's the camp where they would go, and that they still left the Jason like body at the like spring loaded on the thing. So like kids would swim to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like there. That would have scared the shit out of me as a kid, but like a lot of other kids thought it was like so cool, like you could see them. And if you look it up, you can find pictures of like that. It's still
Is
there.
that? I'm
decaying.
wondering if that's the one I'm thinking of because there is like a statue or something like in the bottom of like a lake that they stuck like a hockey
That's
mask
the.
on.
I'm
Is that what you're
positive that's
talking
the
about?
first one.
Okay.
That like it jumps out of the lake at her when she's in the boat. That's the first one. That's how it ends, like a freeze
Yeah.
frame of like.
He jumps out, he grabs her, and then she wakes up and she's like, little boy's in the water. And then
Yeah.
like fade out.
That's the lake that's like, I mean, I'm sure it's like a 30, 40 minute drive, but it's like around here in New Jersey where I'm from.
Yeah. Which one? There's I don't know. There's some set, like a house from one of the movies that was left in place, and a lot of people would go and like sleep in it. And then one group who went and like slept in it, um, started a fire in the fireplace, but the fireplace wasn't a working fireplace, so it set the whole place on fire and like burned down this like movie set. It sucked.
Anytime I see those like dumb, like I feel like I get so many dumb Facebook ads for like clickbaity articles. I've like looked at like ones that are like sets that were left standing.
I'm all for those until it's making me click something every sentence, right? Like making you go and go and go.
Right.
Right there.
Because I like saw the movie Big Fish, which I do. That is a movie I love. That ending makes me cry the hardest. The like island they go to that really was an island, like in the middle of some swamp, and they just left all the houses there, and like some family owns the island, and like they were paid to build the houses, then they just left them there. So there's like all these like this fake little town they built on an island that you can only get to from a boat, and that feels like a horror movie in itself, even though the movie is like a feel good whatever movie.
I think a bunch of the original Star Wars sets were left in place
Yeah.
too.
But it's like wild to think of like someone who accidentally comes across that, right? Like if you're just like, if you happen to be in the swamp and you see this little village, like that would be scary, right?
Yeah. In 2018, Laurie Strode's house, that's like a legit house that's like abandoned and stuff like that, like out there. And people go out to that all the time. You can find that shit on YouTube, and like people just go and explore it. And it's just so cool. It's so cool to look at.
So we're going to go there someday, right, Zach?
We should. I'd like to. But see, I'd get a little too excited, and I'd probably take like a piece of the door frame or something. And I don't think you can do that. You shouldn't do that. You should leave it intact. This is like if I went down to the Titanic, I'd probably take something, which is not good.
You went down to the, how are you getting to the fucking Titanic, Zach?
Fucking, I don't know. We only got a couple years left. By 2030, it's gonna be gone. Anyway, this movie's over, everybody. This movie has ended. Laz, I'm so sorry we brought you on for this franchise. We're gonna have you come back on for one that you actually enjoy.
I have to say, I did enjoy rewatching this, and I think that out of all of the films, it's the best one for me to watch.
Yeah, I think for me as well, just because it is just better. It's better made, right? It's well made, if anything. So it's like nice to look at. You know, they've got the music cues. Like I think the final credit scene music cues where they used like Whitney's final screams in that music. I think that was really nice. But just it sucks. It sucks. But if they put out another one in the theaters, I'd probably go see it. To be honest.
I think for me the most depressing part of the rewatch for this was I had wished as soon as it was done that I was either watching the Evil Dead remake or the Texas Chainsaw remake.
Yeah.
They're both really good, right?
Yeah.
Those two like get everything that like my Laz checklist needs for like a good horror movie in general. Plus like the cinematography and the acting in both of those is really good.
Yeah.
So like it just made me want to see those again.
I'm very interested in this last checklist also.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some things on this checklist?
We've heard it a couple times throughout this recording, and now I'm very curious.
To me, if you're like, I'm going specifically with remakes at the moment because I could go on for like forever. But to me, it's like I don't like pointless homages that don't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like Easter eggs tend to take me out of things because
Zach feels the same way.
Yeah, like it's like if you do them really smart, which I think both Texas Chainsaw and Evil Dead did really well.
Yeah.
Then I'm on board because it's either as you know like it drives the narrative a little bit or it's like subtle enough where like it doesn't really like have to be in my face. Whereas this one feels a little like too much in that department. Again, like the acting. Also, it's like if you have the opportunity to remake something, and I think Evil Dead did it so well, which is like give your characters a reason to stay in that circumstance. And I think with that one, you know, making Mia, you know, a recovering or like trying to become a recovering addict,
right?
Such a smart reason to keep everybody there, including her.
Yeah.
And then cinematography, art direction, all artsy stuff that I love.
All the
And I
good
mean,
stuff.
you both did say this, but the cinematography is like it's like they have the budget. The budget is there. You can see like the cinematography is well done, but like whatever, like all of like it's like the story itself isn't quite because like even that first group, I mean, both of you said this, like the first group just made more sense, right? It's like, okay, these are clearly friends. They are all friends. They're looking for weed. Okay, that's what they're going to find, this weed stash. And like that enough was a better reason than like they're all going with this person
See,
they don't like.
that's the one thing about that group that I didn't care for is like you don't always need a reason for your group to be at this like abandoned area, right? Sometimes you just young people just want to go do something spooky, right? They
Well,
didn't
right, but
need to be GPSing weed. Like what the fuck was that?
I would be GPSing weed.
Oh my
Listen,
god, I guess so. I guess so. But that's my only hang up about that group. But other than that, I really liked them. But
what was your favorite kill from this movie, Zachary?
yeah. Oh goodness. The sleeping bag. I think it was just so brutal. And if you're wanting to really like the first 15 minutes really does paint the Jason for the rest of the movie. They didn't quite go there for the rest of the movie, but they did enough. Like they even showed him running at one point in the first 15 minutes, and that was like good.
I meant to ask you guys. That's not. He didn't normally run, right?
Oh, no,
like,
no.
okay. Because I actually did think that made him scarier because it's like he's this big hulking dude and he will just run up to you and chop your fucking face off and like you're not gonna outrun him.
And Friday fans like really get excited when he runs. So when that came out, people were excited. And then there was a script for one that was supposed to be made a few years ago where he's like full blown running throughout that entire movie. And I think that would be because he's huge. Like he's this big dude. I would be terrified if he was running after me. I'd probably go down just like
I would be the girl that runs away and trips on like a branch. That's what I would be.
Oh my god, you probably would. Not even 2 steps. What about you, Les?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go with sleeping bag as well. I don't want to copy you, but uh, it was like the most memorable, and everything aside from that just felt kind of lackluster and tame.
See, I'm gonna tell you guys, my issue with the sleeping bag is that it happens so fast. It feels like she dies a little too quickly. Like I felt like we get 2 screams out of her and then she falls out of that bag.
Your
like,
ass would have been pissed and complaining had we seen a 5-minute burn scene. You would have been so mad about that. It's too brutal. That's too much.
I just felt like, oh, she's dead already. Like she's already got smoke coming out of her mouth. That seemed pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like if we had waited, if like we had left that scene with like the dude in the fucking bear trap and her screaming, and then when what's her face comes running in, and then we see the girl fall out of the bag, I would have. That's the difference I would have made for that scene. Is like she comes running up, and as she's running up, the dude's screaming, it's caught in the bear trap, and then we see her friend fall out of the sleeping bag. That's where I would have, because like for me, then it's like okay, because we don't know how much time passed between that, because like it was kind of happened concurrently. And it's like, okay, so like we can just imagine a few minutes have passed and yes, she burned to death. But like that was like seconds. So I just would have like, if we could have just paused at that scene with like her screaming and then shown the girl running up and then like her friend falls out of the sleeping bag.
Maybe
so
she passed out. Maybe she wasn't dead. Maybe you'd pass out, right? I feel like
you'd
pass out
probably.
if I hurt that much.
I feel like you would asphyxiate first, right? Because you can't breathe and the smoke's getting in the sleeping bag.
Something. But this is what we got, Ian. This is what we got.
That's fine.
I agree. I do agree with you, though. I think situating it in that time frame would have been better.
I definitely agree with you as well, Ian. But the one thing I will say is when they really ratchet up the tension in that segment specifically, I think the pacing helps it immensely. Just like everything, like including him running and like everything just escalates so much that it's like boom, 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 happening. So like, one after the other, that like it kind of sets you up for a movie that is not going to happen after
that. You're right. It sets you up for something like that, but that unfortunately we don't get.
Ian, what's your favorite death in this?
I think it's the screwdriver guy's like chin, just because like I don't know. I thought that was like definitely the best of those deaths. But I do really like what you said, Laz, the pacing of like that guy's in the bear trap, the girlfriend burned to death, other girls running in, and then he gets like, I like the like, again, because it doesn't feel very, the other movies he moves so slow, but he's like, she's trying to get him out of that trap, and Jason just runs up and machetes the hot dude in the head. And I do think that was like a good combination of like that, like the tension was there, the intensity was there, the chick is burned to death, the dude's caught in a bear trap, then gets macheted. Like I did like all of that because it's very fast-paced horror death that I feel like all three of us kind of like. But I think like the best kill, not that I'm a fan of a slow, like pathetic kind of kill, but like his kill was so like it felt like a little real because it's like she's just like no, please don't, and it's like slowly going up him, which is like pretty brutal. Because like I feel like it'd take a minute to kill you if that's slowly going into you, right?
Yeah.
So that's my favorite kill.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Laz, where can everybody find you right before we wrap up?
Sure. You can all find me on Instagram and Twitter at Laz Marquez. That's LazMarquez. And you can check out my work at www.lazmarquez.com.
Very great work. I'd highly recommend everybody go checking it out. Go look at all his stuffs.
Thanks for joining us, Laz.
Yes.
So you can find Slayer. You can find My Bloody Judy in Slayerfest 98's podcast feed. You can find Slayerfest 98 at SlayerFestX98 on all social media, and you can find podcast feed on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and where can they find My Bloody Judy on YouTube, Zach?
YouTube.com/ACB on his features. That's that.
Great.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for checking into this episode. Part 2 of 3, summer camp. That's nobody's following along either. Everybody like, summer camp. When did that happen?
They're doing that? I didn't know.
It's a thing? Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great rest of your... We're putting this out on Friday the 13th, so have a spooky Friday the 13th.
Bye.
Bye.